Last time.
No.
Got bumped off the mountain. Neener.
Good morning, all.
I'm just funning here.
They're probably all wondering what we're on about, the latecomers.
Well, it's nice to see Kendall.
Hello, all.
I haven't seen you for a while.
No, I was very sick with COVID, and I'm only starting to recover the last couple of months, so
Good.
I'm able to call again. So I have to sit down when I call. I can't stand up and call anymore, but I'm at least calling.
Sure, that doesn't sound too good. I'm glad you're on the mend, though.
I'm above the grass.
Yes.
I always say it's better to be looking at the flowers than the roots.
Yeah.
I'm Mel.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that. I just realized I have closed down something I spent about an hour and a half setting up. I've closed it down on Taminations. Oh well. Give me 1 second here.
Hello, Howard. Hello, Alan. How are you going?
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Morning.
I guess it's morning for Aussies, but yeah.
It's a good afternoon, almost evening for me.
It's
Yeah.
night
Sorry, here.
Halloween. Halloween.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session. I just got to find out where Zoom is on my computer so I can start things because I've lost myself completely.
Okay.
The topic that we're going to be looking at tonight is essentially building an evening, a program, a tip, but mainly structuring around the basic choreography of singing call figures. When you buy a record, if those of you that still buy records, or some people still do produce them, or the MP3s or the music in general, they usually come with a piece of choreography, and it's pretty basic choreography, nice singing call figures, and there's a lot of variety in them. There's nothing wrong with that choreography, and this is what, well, I shouldn't say there's nothing wrong, sometimes there is, but there's nothing wrong with using the choreography that comes with it. So I wanted to talk about building an evening or building a night of square dancing or an event around the basic choreography of singing call figures. So now, is my screen shared?
Oh.
No, it's not. Okay, that would probably make a big difference if I did that. Let's try this again.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's working now?
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked, yeah. Now we've talked a number of times about the development of choreography for patter calling, using modules, site calling, site resolution, different calling
Just
styles
done a
such
Zoom
as.
call with a bunch of other callers. We're talking about. That's okay. I can just step away. They can't hear me.
Yeah.
No. He's just...
other mental other calling styles such as mental image or crams or all those other kinds of things, and the focus has been on developing the choreography, getting a focused piece of choreography, and from there developing our singing calls, writing our singing calls, and everything else. We've also spent a fair bit of time understanding the mechanics of a singing call, the music, the structure, how to maximize the benefits of singing calls in our presentations of ourselves, as well as a means to enhance an entire program. So essentially what we've spent time doing is getting the dancers from A to B comfortably. I'm just going to find out who that is, and so we can...
It's Kendall, but it won't let me mute him.
Where is he?
He's muted.
There we go. It's just taking time. Okay. So in this session, what I thought about was a couple of comments, and this is actually what prompted it, a couple of comments that I received from callers, but also from record producers, and also a couple of teachers that are not callers that have expressed a notice of the change in a lot of the music And this was the comment I received. This was from one of the record producers. It says, hi Mel, I just want to let you know the vocals that you did with different levels has been going very good. I noticed people are buying some of the stuff you did. Thanks for doing this. It's a great idea. And it seems to me that there's a developing niche market for singing calls that have choreography attached to them, 1 figure per program level, and that's just a little different and progressive for each record. So you're finding a lot of record producers now are producing music that has, might have an SSD figure, a basic figure, a mainstream, a plus, an advanced figure, or a challenge, and it'll have multiple figures, and they're different. In days gone by, music used to be produced for the music, not for the choreography. So I used to talk with Tony Oxendine, and he was saying their Royal Records, what they do is they would produce 10 singing call figures, and all their music would have one of those 10. Those are the pat figures, because callers were expected to write their own material. But a lot of it is, that swing is changing, and there's been a development of a lot of choreographic ideas. So if the music is there, and it's the same music that was there before, and believe me, I'm not the greatest singer, what is the draw that is increasing these sales? Well, the answer has to be the choreography that's different but not difficult. We don't want the singing calls to be patter calls. So now, as you know, I am a strong proponent of writing your own material and developing your choreography to best understand the material that you're going to be presenting. However, it's a direct contradiction. I'm also a very strong proponent of what has come to be called researching material into my repertoire, especially singing call figures. Researching is just another kind way of saying, oh, that's Jeff Seidel over there. Great. Excellent figure, Jeff. I'm just going to duck over here to the side with my notebook for a second. No, you carry on. And I will blatantly steal, plagiarize, or copy anything that I think is interesting, especially when square dance calling comes. And I don't mind if people do it for me. It's very, very flattering. But as a note, always double check material before you use it. That's your own material and the stuff that is, shall we say, newly yours. I believe that the delivery of singing calls should be always done with a purpose, and that includes the choreography use. That said, sometimes it's nice to just build a program of interest and variety around the basic choreography of singing call figures that are practiced and are prepared. It is what the dancers remember. They don't remember the choreography of a patter call. They don't remember the music of a patter call other than it gave them a nice feel. But they do remember singing calls. And they remember the lyrics of the singing calls. But believe it or not, they also remember the choreography of singing calls, but very differently than callers do. Now, if callers want to expand their program more effectively and find more effective ways of creating an original and super dynamic night of square dancing, a very simple way to succeed at that is doing more original singing call figures as a basis for delivery. And you can develop innovative and different, not difficult unless it's, of course, group appropriate, but different, not difficult choreography. It's important to remember that when using a singing call figure approach to programming, you've got a fair chance of delivering a lot more choreography than is on the program list that they're calling. The reason for this is the material on the program list has exactly the same platform. So if it's a basic program, it's a basic program. But it's likely also one of the reasons for the earlier comment that many callers and teachers are producing singing call music based on choreography first. And that's happening more these days to be level appropriate, and the music second. The music still has to be good. The music still has to have that whole flavor of square dance, but there's a little more emphasis on the choreography that's coming out that is just a little bit different, not difficult. It's not a pattern, but it's just something that gives the dancers the ability to progress through the material. What this means is fundamentally a good repertoire of program-specific danceable singing calls is something that any caller can count on in a program for positive variety and entertainment. And when you download the notes of this session, there's also a handout there that will have what I'm saying here, but it's also a collated list of about 1,600 different singing call figures. Okay, there is an obstacle to this, and the obstacle and challenges, the biggest obstacle that challenges callers has always been providing interest that the square dancers can truly be comfortable, they can dance, and they can feel excited about. And this is often a difficult achievement when you have only one tip, or generally 1 to 1.5 hours of actual calling time in an evening. Time is not always your friend in square dance calling. So you got to keep that in mind, and remember, you cannot dive deeply into choreography for singing calls. And you don't need to go deep to get interesting and different creative ideas. Deep diving is dark, it's technical, whereas, and I'm using the analogy of scuba diving or skin diving or snorkeling. You go through and you learn the basic techniques in the hotel pool if you're on a vacation. And then you go out shallow diving on the coral reefs. You're looking at beautiful, wondrous things. And yet, there's always that deep dive going into the deep black and all the technical stuff that goes around it. For some people, that's great. But most people just want to get down. They want to see all the bright colors of the coral and the beautiful fishes. And you do that shallow diving. And every dive is going to be different. Shallow diving and snorkeling is easy, but full of wonder and different memories. And that's what you want your singing calls to be like. Not too deep, but full of wonder and different memories that are going to last. And it's important that you as a caller provide what feels like fresh new ideas in your dance combinations. So believe it or not, the dancers don't remember the choreographic sequences of patter routines. They actually don't even care other than to get through it successfully. They often remember singing call routines because it ceases to be a singing call choreography and it becomes the lyrics. For many years, callers and producers put out the same stuff. I've said this already. And it was the exact same approaches to dances everywhere, locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. If you had Rhythm of the Rain or something like that, you know, flutter, wheel and slide through, swing that corner, promenade on come. Everybody would sing that same song and sing along with the caller no matter where they were. You know, coffee black, cigarette, start this day like all the rest, Alabama left your corner, you know. Everybody sang it, but they didn't sing it as choreography. They sang it as lyrics. And the focus was on callers working to develop their craft, and the producers were making the music as a platform to sell that craft. Over the years, this has changed, and the singing call in many places become just another patter record, but with melody, line, and lyrics. To me, that's a bad thing. While some dancers may like that, I can assure you most dancers do not. Unless you're at the A2 Challenge 3, 4, and 5, most don't like that, especially those coming into the activity. What they want is comfort, they want success, they want entertainment, and they want the ability to have that memory, to sing that song, even including the choreography that goes with it. I remember when I started dancing, and I started in Europe, we would drive to a big dance, and it was not unusual. We'd get 6 or 8 of us in the van or whatever car we were driving in, and we'd put on a tape and we'd sing along with our favorite square dance caller, or we'd just start singing square dance song, getting ready for the dance, and we would sing the songs with the choreography. And you know, if we heard that song being called the repetition of innovation, which was different but not difficult or familiar, those were also easy. You know, they were welcome, they were wonder, and it was great when you're singing a song and you're all singing the same chorus line, but 2 different people start singing different figures for it, because they're not calling. They're singing the lyrics. The choreography became lyrics for them, and that's what sticks with them. What was not welcome was the discomfort of having to think and work your way through the singing call. That's what patter was for. And if you had a beautiful singing call, even if it was really familiar, but it had something like heads left touch a quarter, invert 1 quarter to the right with a reverse diamond, inverse circulate once, and you know, I don't even know what this stuff is. I'm just making stuff up now. Dancers aren't going to remember that, but they are going to remember the figure as lyrics of it's something that's familiar and fun for them. The idea is structured variety that's different, not difficult, and that's very, very important, especially at your big dances. And what that boils down to, of course, is judgment. It's important to always remember that both calling and dancing can be challenging and amazingly hard at times due to the unexpected choreography of the caller. If you throw in a collection of square dancers that have a wide range of abilities, everything becomes all mixed up, and it's very difficult for the dancers to complete all of the choreography, and even harder for the callers to keep track of everyone moving. One of the great things about square dancing is, of course, the recovering, and making those occasional mistakes is often part of the fun. In fact, making mistakes is proof that everybody's trying and learning. Think of square dancing as downhill skiing. Anybody that tells you they've never fell while skiing is, you know, they're not trying. They're not trying to push themselves. They're not trying to. So the easiest way to do that is simple changes. Okay, I'm just going to go quickly through these. These all have nice little 64-beat phrases, but you notice these figures. This is our first standard figure, and pretty much everybody's seen it. Heads, promenade, half, square through 4, do a do-si-do, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, center, square through 3, swing your corner, and promenade. Okay. We can change the middle bit of that. Swing through, girls turn back, wheel and deal, do a do-si-do, pass through, trade by. But that feels like an entirely new figure. It's not. All it's doing is exactly the same thing, except we've changed that wheel and deal to a lefty instead of the Ferris wheel, which is a righty, or sorry, the other way around. We can also change simple things. Like instead of ending with centers square through 3, how about left touch a quarter, centers box circulate twice? Now, how many times have you heard box circulate called in a singing call, or box circulate even called at a dance? Very rarely. Not a lot of callers use it anymore. They'll do a split circulate, but they don't hear that box circulate very often. You'll just hear center circulate. It sounds different. It feels different. But what are we doing? We've just done an equivalent for a square through 3, but it feels different. It feels wonderful. Notice I used a left touch a quarter instead of a touch a quarter box circulate twice, which is a little more common. They do it all the time, but that can create that 5/4 turn for the ladies, and some ladies have a problem with that. There's another thing down at the bottom here. It says I have a ZS line. That's called a 0 square line. So that's setting up picture sides, face your partner, and back up to a line of 4. That's a 0 squared line. In other words, you can circle left from there, you can have the end step forward face in, and you're in a squared set. It's basically a static square made into a line. Now, don't be afraid of doing things like that. A lot of callers are, but there's nothing wrong with doing this kind of stuff. And notice I've got a forward and back there, and that's just to allow that room to come back for the bend the line. As they separate around 2 to the ends of the line, they could bend the line, but those centers have stepped forward, so it's going to be tight. So you do that forward and back, it's a half step, but they come back. The bend the line becomes comfortable. Touch a quarter, boys run. Do-si-do and swing. Oh, how about do-si-do once and a half, do a U-turn back. Do-si-do once and a half is exactly the same as saying pass through, U-turn back. Do-si-do once and a half, U-turn back. But it feels and sounds so different to the dancers. They go, oh, wow, what was that? Little changes have big effects. You got to remember that. Here's a couple of other ways that you can do it. Okay, so here's a figure. Heads, promenade half, lead to the right, touch a quarter, and then the rest of the figure. Well, if I change that to heads, promenade half, right and left through, lead to the left, touch a quarter. Wow. Split circulate, boys run, right and left through, slide through, square through 3. All I've done is an equivalent here. Instead of promenade half, lead to the right, right and left through, lead to the left. I've achieved exactly the same thing. Instead of the swing coming off the square through 3, I just walk forward into the promenade. This one, a right and left through, sides, flutter wheel, sweep a quarter more, centers passer. Basically, I'm just flipping the square so I'm on the other side so I can set it up for a swing and promenade and have my full 16-beat promenade. Well, instead of doing this, oops, where'd it go? Right and left through, flutter wheel, sweep a quarter, centers passer. 8 chain 4 does the same thing. It flip-flops the square. Again, it's just a combination equivalent with a movement that does the same thing. And it takes essentially the same amount of time to do it, and the dancers have a completely different feel. And the dancers are going, wow. You as a caller are going, okay, well, I'm going to flip-flop the square and then call spin chain through, girls circulate. I'm going to flip-flop the square and call spin chain through, girls circulate. Well, guess what? You as a caller are going to get, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. The dancers are not. They're going to love it because it's familiar. It's a little bit different, but it's still not difficult. The first one, or the last one, lead to the right, swing through, spin the top, right and left through, pass the ocean, boys circulate, girls trade. Well, I did a right and left through, lead to the left, do-si-do. Swing through, spin the top, right and left through, pass the ocean, boys circulate, girls trade. Now, notice this heads lead right. This right and left through, lead to the left takes longer. And the reason for that is right here. Look for filler material. Scoot back, swing the corner. You see this at the end of tips. Touch a quarter, scoot back, swing the corner. From your ocean wave, do a hinge, scoot back, swing the corner. Those movements actually do absolutely nothing choreographically other than take you from this spot back to the same spot to swing your corner. 2 dancers, swing your corner on this spot. That's what it's saying. But it's filling in the timing. So if we go back and look at that, I've dropped the hinge, scoot back, swing the corner off the end. I've got exactly the same figure, but instead of a lead to the right, I've got a right and left through and a lead to the left. That feels so much different to the dancers. And after the girls trade swing the corner, easy peasy. The dancers are going to succeed it. It's a very small change, but it gives a whole new feel to the dancing. So look for that filler, because when you find it, it's a really, really good thing. It tells you there's a lot of room to play and change the opening slightly to give a different feel for exactly the same figure, for innovative but different, not difficult variety. Another thing to consider is simple symmetry. If you consider this in your quest for singing call variety, especially when it presents itself to you, you're going to have a lot more interest from the dancers. Remember that line to box conversion that was one of the foundation modules? You take a partner line, touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, boys run. Well, left touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, girls run does the same thing, but it's symmetrical and it has a different feel. The same kind of stuff can apply to your singing calls. So look at this first figure. Heads right and left through, heads lead to the left, there's my flow, touch a quarter, it flows in quite well. Split circulate, boys run, reverse flutter, and sweep a quarter more, pass through trade by Alaman left. So instead of doing that, let's go heads right and left through and back away. They're backing away, great. Heads lead to the right, and now I'm just doing the instead of lead to the left, lead to the right, left touch a quarter, split circulate, girls run, flutter wheel, and sweep a quarter more. It's very familiar. You can't help but succeed to it. The flow is there, but it's symmetrical to the first one. Whereas I'm doing a boys run reverse flutter wheel, I'm doing a girls run and a flutter wheel, and it flows exactly the same. Doesn't really do anything to the movement, but for the dancers, it's a completely different feel. So understanding that, you can use your singing call choreography as a driver to create simple variations without much change. Again, different but not difficult. And you can structure an entire evening or an entire dance to greater success and maximize both your music and your performance benefits. You're going to find that your patter will be a little more innovative using simpler material. You're going to find the dancers are going to have success with it, and they're going to be more comfortable with the familiarity of different, not difficult, getting in, getting out, that unusual formation and out of that, and wow, I know it happened, but I don't know what I just did successfully, but I must be doing good because I was successful at it. And then structuring around your favorite singing calls or your favorite singing call figures, you've practiced and you've practiced and you've practiced. Now what you're going to do is you're going to maximize both your music and the performance benefits to greater success right across the board. So here's, simply put, 10 simple things that can help you do this, especially with your singing call success. Use of equivalents that time out. Heads square through 4, standard opening. Heads promenade half, pass the ocean, extend. Does the same thing, times out well. Feels very different for the dancers. Look for filler at the end of a sequence. If you've got the end of a sequence that says pass through, do a U-turn back, wiggle, wink at her, swing, standard, that's filler. That to me says, hey, playtime, there's fun there. Touch a quarter, scoot back, or do a single hinge, scoot back, boys in, scoot back, girls in, swing your corner. We've done nothing, but all of that, if the flow is good, you can drop that off and add a little something funky at the beginning that may take a little bit extra, right and left through, lead to the left instead of lead to the right, that kind of stuff. It allows you to play, analyze your singing call figures to see that. Use short focus flow zeros if you want to do this. A lot of times when we're setting up singing call choreography or we're setting up focus modules, make your flow zeros very, very short. So if you have a corner box to corner box or a partner line to a corner box flow module that's very short, think of a way to get there quickly, and that can become your singing call figure. And then you can fill it in at the end with touch a quarter, scoot back if it's too short. Don't be afraid to set up right-hand quadrant corner box swings as an alternate. A lot of the time we set up our modules head square through, we're in a corner box exact, swing through, spin the top, boys run, bend the line, right and left through, flutter wheel, slide through. We're in exactly the same spot as the square through, swing through, spin the top, right and left through, square through 3. We're in the same spot, even though we're in lines facing out. Set it up on the right-hand side. So just flip your box over with that 8-chain-4 type activity. It feels different, even though you're going to be doing exactly the same thing. Instead of a right and left through, instead of a lead right, try using a right and left through and lead to the left. It gives a completely different feel for the dancers. I've got people waiting in the waiting room. It gives a different feel to the dancers, but it enhances their success, especially if the rest of it is pretty straightforward and familiar. That little simple change. Don't be afraid to use a right-hand lady progression periodically. Again, even that feels different to the dancers because you've established your corner in your singing call with the Alaman lefts, but you gotta swing this girl. Oh, wait a minute, that's not my corner. It's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly successful. It gives a different feel, and the dancers go, wow. One caution with that, if you're going to use right-hand lady progression, note it when you write it down, right-hand lady progression. Because sometimes callers will flip-flop, or let's say I'm calling a dance with somebody like Barry or Bob or anybody like that, and we may not closely be paying attention to what the other person is calling because we're just doing singing calls, and suddenly, you know, Bob or Barry will drop a right-hand lady progression on me, and then I drop a corner progression, and we're all back home. Make sure you note a right-hand lady progression. The use of simple mirror symmetry. We talk about symmetry a lot, but essentially when we talk about symmetry in the square dance version, we're talking about that mirroring type aspect. Touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, boys run. Left touch a quarter, all 8 circulate, girls run. It's a kind of mirror symmetry that works, it's quick and it's effective. Just make sure it flows well. If you're going to use half sashayed formations, get a quick in and a quick out. You know, dancers are not comfortable dancing half sashayed all the time, but they like that little bit of different, you know, do a half sashay, pass through, wheel and deal, or you get in that half sashay, girls run, Ferris wheel this way. It's there. Pass through, swing the corner, or what have you. It's a fast in, it's a fast out, and do your half sashayed stuff with stuff that is familiar with them. Don't be afraid to use boy, boy, girl, girl stuff. But again, easy in, easy out. Set it up, that boy, boy, girl, girl. Do something, and then get out of there. The dancers will be comfortable. And there's a lot of singing call figures that do this. So, like, consider this figure that's up here. Head square through, sides a half sashay. Oh, dancer, oh, I'm half sashay. Do a do side do. Boy, boy, girl, girl. Oh my God. What's he doing? I'm now make an ocean swing through. Okay, I can do a swing through. Boys run. Whew, I'm back to standard lines. Pass through, wheel and deal, zoom, center square through 3. Great. I can do the same thing and change that square through 3 to left touch a quarter, box circulate twice, swing your corner. I can do all sorts of things with that without changing that figure. Sometimes a figure like that is right out in front of you and you don't see it because you're going, oh no, it's got a boy, boy, girl, girl stuff. But if you run your checkers through it, it's very, very easy and very, very simple to play with things like that. So that's a very, very fast go through this. I do have some choreography set up on Square View, but right now what I'd like to do is open the floor to see if there's any comments or questions before we move on to the next bit, and then we're going to start looking at your singing call figures and see what you can do. Once again, I will tell you that attached to this is the presentation. Mark's going to be putting that up on the website. It's got the notes for this. It's also got a review of square dance material, and there's a collated list of singing calls that you can pick and choose that are progressive and just other ones for you to play with, about 1,600 of them. So let's open the floor up for any questions or comments first, and then we'll look at some of this choreography that we talked about in Square View. very, very silent out there.
One comment, Mel.
Yes, Alan.
I've felt that lead left, the momentum really requires a left-hand movement after it rather than a right hand. What are your comments on that?
Generally, yes. And this is in the documentation. If you do, for instance, a right and left through, lead to the left, your next movement, you need to have it timed. You don't want to have it completely finished with that lead left into something. A lead to the left, touch a quarter, actually flows quite well because the flow is there. A lead, yeah, it does actually, Barry. If you call right and left through, lead to the left, a do-si-do will also flow because your turning is there, but you have to prompt it. If you call lead to the left and you let them, and you get them right to where they're almost face to face, you're absolutely right, Alan. Generally a left hand motion, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to do something like a lead to the left pass through, you're better off doing a lead to the left, do a left pass through, or a left do-si-do 1.5. Absolutely correct. Timing has a lot to do with this, and that's part of the judgment. There's going to be a lot of argument on this. I personally have no problem with it. If you have a problem with it, then you stick with what's right for you. I've called this stuff a lot of the times timed correctly. My dancers have never had a problem. I've never had a complaint. And if I do get complaints, or if there is a valid argument, I'm more than willing to change, as we've noted with the figure star through in Zoom. I'm more than willing to change my opinion on things once I analyze it. But
The figure you had actually lent itself to doing that, because I think you did a touch a quarter and split circulator, something like that after.
a left touch a quarter split circulator.
Yeah, and so you probably could have used almost the exact same figure and still had to use that left momentum on the lead left to advantage.
And this is where I would not do a lead left, right hand figure, right hand figure, right hand figure, right hand figure, or lead left and take right momentum. I would use a right and left through, lead to the left, that and to your corner do-si-do, or sorry, touch a quarter with that right hand momentum, but it would be prompted lead to the left and touch 1/4, and with the right hand touch a quarter, a prompt like that. You have to look at that and you have to time it correctly. But in general, if your dancers are going slow, or if your dancers are those that like to finish and set themselves up perfectly at the end of each movement before they do the next one, you're absolutely correct. A left hand action to a right hand action, or a left hand flow to a right hand flow doesn't always lend itself to perfect blend unless it's part of the movement, like swing through, that kind of stuff. Any other comments? No? Okay. I'm just going to look at some of the choreography then that we had here. So these are some of the figures that we talked about, just simple singing call figures. Okay, so the first one is that standard figure that you see on many. So heads promenade half, square through 4, do a do-si-do, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers, square through 3. Okay, so we're looking for a subtle change. The square sets up, and we'll do the same thing, but what we're going to do is change that to the girls turn back, wheel and deal, do-si-do, pass through, trade by, which is essentially putting him across, square through 3. There's that chicken plucker action, or that transfer action in the center. We're just doing it differently. This is the same figure, just with an equivalent. Swing through, girls turn back, wheel and deal, pass through, trade by, swing your corner.
Mel, are you just trying to share because we're not seeing anything?
Is my screen not shared?
No, at least not on my end.
How about now?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so this was the standard figure that we had: swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, swing corner and promenade. Okay, and we've added the subtle change. We've changed that swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel to the swing through, girls turn back, wheel and deal. Now the Ferris wheel brings us on opposite sides for the square through 3 to come back around. We've done that with the promenade, so we have to do that chicken plucker effect. The wheel and deal, great. I can do a pass through trade by. I can do a do-si-do, that's my filler for the timing, but I could also do do-si-do once and a half trade by, and we'll look at that. So here's the same figure, but just with the variation. Now I'm just going to have the girls turn around, and notice the Ferris wheel went this way, the wheel and deal goes this way. For the dancers, it's the same, and the rest of it, pass through trade by instead of the square through 3 to get that same kind of effect. Not a problem. This is the one that, sorry, we're talking. The next one, we're going to change that center square through 3 to the left touch a quarter, centers box circulate twice. It doesn't change the figure, it doesn't change the outcome, but instead of after a Ferris wheel, most dancers are going to expect a square through 3, swing your corner. They expect that in a singing call. Left touch a quarter, box circulate twice is, whoa, where did that come from? But it's going to do exactly the same thing. It's a simple equivalent mix. But it makes a big change. There's the square through, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, and we do a left touch a quarter, centers box circulate twice, there's the corner, swing the corner, and promenade. Or you can pick up your, sorry, you can't pick up your corner because it's awkward for the side man. But it's essentially the same figure again. Now I said don't be shy with the 0 square type setups in your lines. Jeff Seidel from Adelaide does a lot of this. He'll set this up and he'll work that line half sashayed, but it's essentially, and then it's end step in, swing your corner, or end step in, swing your partner, your home. You do this all the time, and he makes it look so smooth. I wish he was here. It would be a heck of a lot easier for him to discuss it. But it makes it so smooth for the dancers to get to where they want to go, and yet it feels so different. So when we set this up, let's just quickly look at this. Heads promenade half, square through 3. Oh, that's different. Separate around 2 to a line. Now there's our line. This is what we call a ZS line, or it used to be referred to as ZS line. But if you think about it, if I just have the ends step forward and face in, everybody's at home. It's not a hard line, but look at the dancers. All the dancers feel half sashayed. They're doing something. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Forward and back. And the reason you do a forward and back, although they're going around to the outside and a bend the line would normally flow, because they're going around the center step forward, so it's too tight to call a bend the line. So you give them that little tiny forward and back, then there's the bend the line. That will create that flow. It'll also create that space for smooth dancing. There's your bend the line, and from here, the dancers are still half sashayed. It feels different. The bend the line feels different. It's not uncomfortable, but touch a quarter, yeah, that's familiar. Boys run. And instead of pass through, U-turn back, do-si-do once and a half. U-turn back, guess who? Swing your corner and promenade. A simple variation that really makes no change to the choreographic sequence for the caller, but for the dancers makes a whole lot of difference, and yet it's easy and it's comfortable, and they cannot help but succeed with it. And get her back. So there's all sorts of things like that that you can have. Stop share. There's all sorts of things like that that you can have, and you can work your singing call choreography in to maximize your presentation of yourself. Your singing calls are generally your strength. They're what the dancers remember. And if you take time to structure into your annual programming or your evening program a night that's centered around your singing calls that's going to build, take that singing call figure and put that choreography into your patter. So if you've got a flutter wheel, do simple flutter wheels and reverse flutter wheels in your patter call, and then use that figure in your singing call, and your presentation of different but not difficult is going to have a maximized enhanced feel for the dancers, and they're going to go away singing the song, singing the choreography as lyrics. And I don't know if I did head to couples promenade, it's halfway round that ring you go, square through I say, 4 hands round that ring you go, all the way and a right and left through, veer to the left, Ferris wheel, square through and go, 3 hands around now, swing your corner girl and promenade, and those dreams that you dare to, you know, whatever you do, they're going to start singing those lyrics and that choreography as lyrics. That's how the dancers will remember your singing calls. And they do travel, or they do put it into the cassette if they've still got a cassette player like I do in my car, or the CD players for all you rich people with all the fancy new stuff. This is what they will take home. This is their experience. This is their memory, and this is what they will keep for them. And yes, I do still actually do have a cassette player in my car. I saw a lot of people shaking their heads at that one. I don't have an 8-track anymore, but I do have a cassette player. That's what dancers remember. That's their memories. And that's what you want to build, is their memories, their experience, their wonder, because when they walk away, you want them to walk away with the feeling, you know what, I've got a really big dance coming up. I really enjoyed that. I'm going to make that suggestion. Oh, hi, Jeff. I was just talking about you a minute. I didn't see you sneak in there. They're going to be the ones that say, right, I heard Masami calling in Japan. Let's get him to do our next dance. Or I heard Yolanda calling up that. I really enjoyed what she did, that performance that she gave. They have no recollection of the patter call other than they got through it successfully and the singing call made them feel good about it. And they're going to put your name forward as the recommendation to come and do that next big dance. Comment. Let's open the floor up. Anybody have anything that they want to look at, or any singing call figures that they want to look at and see what you can do with it? Wow.
I'll just chime in again, Mel.
Absolutely.
Your suggestions are very good in a lot of regards, and I've always had the technique of having what I call corner options or center options in a singing call, where, as you rightly point out, you Ferris wheel into the center and you've got a square through 3. How many little sequences can I write that fit this situation, and have them sort of like little pre-learnt routines? And the same with when you're in a corner box. And so you can more or less spontaneously create choreography variations in your singing call by having these little corner options and little center options during
Absolutely.
as much as having your setup options as well. And of course, one of the simplest ones in the center, which probably nobody thinks about very much, is to Ferris wheel into a sweep a quarter. You've still got the same center 4 box. And even a lead to the right after that, back to the corner again, feels just so different for the dancers. Or even a touch a quarter and a walk and dodge into the swing the corner. So having all little options in the center as just little micro modules is a great idea for your singing call.
Absolutely. What Alan's talking about is the setups. When we mentioned little choreographic movements on equivalents, you know, we all know that slide through is an equivalent of star through. This is essentially the same thing as in the center, square through 3, the equivalent of left touch a quarter, box circulate. And what you're talking about with corner and centers, we set up head square through, dance a little bit, swing your corner. That's a corner setup. Ferris wheel centers square through 3. That's a center option, or Ferris wheel centers pass through. That's a center option. Having little modular sequences that are varied but familiar for the dancers are great. And when you do that, there's a lot of callers that will say, oh yeah, Ferris wheel, what's he going to call? He's going to call swing through, turn through, swing through, square through 3, whatever. It's going to be one of these things. Dancers don't think that way. Callers think that way. Dancers think, okay, I'm doing a Ferris wheel. Okay, square through 3, and something different comes. I go, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. Great. Callers will get bored long before dancers will get bored. And this is one of our fundamental flaws in calling. We tend to call for ourselves. We tend to call to impress other callers. We need to call to impress the dancers. We need to call to impress and give the dancers the experience. And what Alan is suggesting there is absolutely ideal. Find yourself some, if I correctly paraphrase this, Alan, little setups to get to that corner box. Little setups to set up that corner get out or that center get out with an equivalent figure that's going to do time out with your singing call, so you can just pull one out and plug the next one in. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Develop your repertoire of those things. That's part of your equivalence. It's not just a move for move, but it's a, you know, we know that ladies chain and reverse flutter wheel do the same thing, but it's saying, you know, setting these things up with timing. And you can do a sequence of 3 or 4 movements equals 1 movement, or 3 or 4 movements changed for another 3 or 4 movements. As long as your timing is good, it's just like, you know, tic-tac-toe. The outcome's always going to be the same: a win, lose, or draw. You want the win or you want the draw.
A good example for, say, a corner one where you've slid through to your corner and you're in a corner line. What options do you have for there to swing that, eventually swing that corner? And so many times we use square through 3, but really you could write yourself a whole lot of equivalents for square through 3 that fit nicely into that situation.
This is the situation he's talking about.
And to give you a sort of a little outlandish one, say past the ocean. Ladies trade. Do a single hinge. Walk and dodge. How often would you do that into the corner?
And there's your corner.
Basically just replace the square through, and providing you've allowed enough timing in your early part of your song, that you're going to be able to make that work.
Okay, so let's take exactly the same theme that you've got there. So we've got square through 3, we've got hinge, walk and dodge. I'm just going to undo the walk and dodge here. Split circulate does the same thing.
Yes. Into a swing.
Yep. Undo. If we undo the hinge, how about, oops, sorry. Swing through. Boy. Boys cross fold. Okay. That's 5 different endings for a corner line setup, all working. And, you know, if we've set that up, for instance, if we set up that corner line setup in our singing call, we've now got 5 completely different endings that do exactly the same thing. And yet that's going to be familiar to the dancers. And they're going to be comfortable with it. And it's all variety. For you as a caller, you're going, yeah, but I'm just doing get into a corner line and then an equivalent. Get into a corner line, equivalent, get up. Get into a corner line, equivalent, get up. Guess what? That's your job as callers. Excellent suggestion, Alan. Anybody else got anything that they think would fit into that quick corner line get out? Go ahead, Jeff. Okay, so we've got 16, 23, week 8.
Yeah, one other one from there is a right and a left through 1.5. Yep, that worked.
How many people have ever called that?
Sorry?
I know if you're from Europe, you've probably seen that a fair bit. But most people would not think of right and left through once and a half. But what is a right and left through once and a half? Well, what's a do-si-do once and a half? Is a pass through.
Yeah.
Right and left through once and a half is a right and left through and pass through. Or a square through 3. Or
Yeah.
a touch a quarter walk and dodge. Or a touch a quarter split circulate. Now we've got 7. Anybody else have one?
Well, another one, Mel, on a line, boys scoot back, girls dodge and swing the dodgy girl.
Okay, so this is boys scoot back, girl dodge.
Yeah.
Okay. A1 movement, but brought down to the mainstream level. Oops, sorry. Anyway, I think you can. The Tamination is not going to do that for me. Essentially, the boys are going to step in and do a turn through, and the girls are going to slide over. Oh, look at that. Another perfect little get out that's just a little bit different. And you're calling a scoot back from facing lines. Just the boys, do your part, scoot back, girls dodge. Or you can just say, boys only, do your part, scoot back. Girls, stand still and wait for them so they got a target. You know, whatever. But it's a nice, simple variation. Now we're up to 8 different changes for a corner line get out to replace square through 3. Anybody have a different one?
Yeah, how about pass the ocean, girls trade, single hinge, and boys walk across, tap them on the shoulder.
Okay, so pass the ocean. Ladies trade. What did you have after that?
Hinge. Boys walk across, tap them on the shoulder.
Okay. A variation of the split circulate. Variation of the walk and dodge. Absolutely. There's 9. And again, it's a simple change, but it feels just a little bit different. How about this one? Oops, sorry. Where are we here? Pass the ocean, ladies trade. Girls run. Oh, that's not going to work. What did I want to do there? Oh, I got a ladies trade in there, that's why. Where's my undo? So you can do the pass the ocean. Girls run. Okay. Bend the line. We've done pass through, or sorry, pass the ocean, ladies trade, swing through, boys run. We're always doing boys run, bend the line. Girls run, bend the line, followed by a pass through. Swing your corner. You're swinging on the wrong side. I didn't see the ladies trade in there. So you can do all sorts of things. What's that take us up to? 10 now? Yeah, so that's 10. What do we got? So 16 to 29, 16, 12. So 10, 12 beat get outs from a corner line. How many of us can set up a corner line and still have 12 beats of music left? Pretty much all of us. Most of our singing calls will set up to that. If we set up something like, let's head square through, I don't know, right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel, centers pass through. Okay, so we're at 27 beats or 26 beats of music. And we've got, how many beats is our little ending? 12? Do a slide through. 32 plus 12 is 44 to a swing your corner and promenade. All we did was do an opening to that square through 4, and now we've got 10 different endings, 10 completely different singing call figures that can all start with head, square through, right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel. If I change that square through to heads, promenade, half, past the ocean, extend, slide through, I've now got 20 different figures. If I change, you know, the right and left through, veer left to a swing through, I've now got 40 different singing call figures. And I haven't changed the basic fundamental of head, square through 4, right, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel. Sorry, heads, promenade, half, I should say, square through 4. Right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel, center square through 3. There's our corner box. All we've done is done a slide through, corner line, and put an ending on it. And this is kind of like what Alan, I think this is kind of like what you were talking about earlier. That's setting up, that's a box get out. If it's a swing your corner type box, slide through takes you to a corner line. There's 10 corner line changes that now, by changing 1, 2, or 3 things, has given us 40 different singing call figures without making any big changes. Each one is different for the dancers. Each one is familiar for the dancers. Each one will have success for the dancers. And that's all it takes. And within this, if we had any of those figures, we could take any of those figures and say, right, if we're going to use walk and dodge, I can use simple walk and dodges. Reset. If I was doing that, for instance, boys scoot back, girls dodge, I can do heads, head boys, scoot back, girls dodge, single hinge, ladies straight, extend. Well, there's my lead. I'm into that ocean wave. I can set that up. If I'm doing a past the ocean type movement, I can do a past the ocean, extend, hinge, split circulate, and carry on. I can do all of those kinds of things in my pattern that will complement that singing call and make it effective for the dancer so it feels really good to them when they get to that singing call figure. They will not remember the pattern. I can assure you, dancers will not remember pattern unless they are probably A2 dancers and challenge dancers, because quite frankly, dancers really don't care about the pattern. They care about succeeding in the pattern comfortably. If the music is light and peppy, that gives them the experience. That's what they care about. They do not care about the choreography in the pattern. They do not care about the choreography in the singing calls unless it's the same choreography over and over and over. That same exact routine. But as you notice there, a little change gave us 40 routines. Everyone's different.
I've thought of another one just while we've been chatting. Working across, most of those work across the axis, right? Across the side axis. But if you work up and down the axis, you get some variation as well. Like if you touch a quarter and box circulate twice, you can have one of the dancers turn back and swing.
Okay, it would be on your own side, but it'd be a split circulate.
Yes. Sorry, yes, split circulate. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that's a girl's turn back, okay? Swing. If you do a left touch a quarter and the same figure again, you can have the boys turn back and swing.
You want a left touch a quarter?
Left touch a quarter. And that's just giving you a nice new different feel to the corner arrangements around the corner there. You didn't do it twice, Mel.
Ah. Hitting the enter button. The keyboard's slowing it. Yeah, boys turn back.
And the boys turn back. So yeah, you get that, just those little variations and you really haven't changed the timing too much at all.
Yeah. And now on that, you could call split circulate twice. In your own 4, box circulate. At the end of that, you could say, boys, to the right, backtrack. Surprise! You know, you can do all sorts of little things like that that are not going to change the fundamental principle of that singing call. They're not going to change the effect, but they will have such a massively appreciated effect on the dancers and the dancer's success because of the familiarity of what it is they're doing.
If you wanted to use the same figure, same singing call figure, you could actually just have the boys or the girls turn back and bow to your partner almost, or swing your partner, nominate, have non-progressive figure. So it gives you that option as well. So there are a lot of options there to play with. You might be putting it in a theme where you have somebody does a U-turn back to swing all the time and you want to vary it, who it is, which would be a nice way of theming a singing call.
Yep.
Where your real theme is somebody's going to turn back to do the swing.
So if we think about this, we've done a boys U-turn back, girls U-turn back. We've done, if we take that exactly that same thing, passer, everybody turn back. By adding simply a pass through and turn around, we've now added 2 more elements to this singing call figure that all fit into that U-turn back mode. Drop a do-si-do somewhere up above, or drop a forward and back somewhere up above. We've now got what, 40 plus 2, that's 80, that's 160. Add a do-si-do once and a half, or a U-turn back, or sorry, a pass through U-turn back. That's what, 320, and we add on to that, double it again, so that's 640 singing call variations with just 10, 11, 12, 13, with 14 12-beat endings to a corner line on one singing call figure.
If
and
you
not,
were to,
not one of them is the same.
No, and if you were to think just slightly different again, which is working up and down that axis, if you have them do it, or you change your singing call just slightly so they finish to where they are now, but half sachet. So if you half sachet from Mel, you would get there in other ways, but do a half sachet here. So you've got corner box. Everybody just does a half sachet back where you were. Yeah. How much nicer is it from here to square through 3, but on the third hand swing, than a slide through and square through 3 to swing your corner? You know, it.
Yeah.
Or if you've got them all face in, for me, you could square through 2 as well, and the boys fold or the girls fold and swing. So just slight changes like that, just give you that variation on the end of your songs, really without changing your song figure very much at all.
Mm-hmm. And a good way of setting something like that up is doing your sorry, if we got it,
you might change it in instead of swing through boys run, you might change that area just slightly so it's a girls run, so the pyramid gives you the half sachet pass through into a square through 3 or a square through 2. Yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
You'd have to swing through again in the girls' trade. Yeah.
Okay. Boom.
I was
Four.
thinking,
So yeah.
I was thinking more in your sing ball. If you step to the corner box again and you do the swing through,
Yeah.
which is what we normally do in those so many of our singing calls, you know, square through 4, swing through sort of thing. Yeah. From here, say you're here. No, I don't want to do the half sachet there, Mel.
I know. I'm just taking it to the next.
Oh, okay.
Ah, bloody hell.
So swing through. Yeah. Hello.
Yep.
Now swing through again. Girls trade. Girls run, just to vary it. And now your now your Ferris wheel. And so this is going to feel quite different because you're using a half sachet feel, but then pass through into a square through 3 and on the third hand swing, or pass through and square through 2 and the girls fold and swing. So you've changed the singing chord figure slightly earlier to get that same setup. Yeah.
Whoops. Let's go everyone. There you go. Very nice. And again, this half sachet. Oh my God, I'm going to do something half sachet. Dancers are going to go, alert, alert, alert. And what is it? Square through 2 to a resolution, or square through 3 to a swing to a resolution. There's very little room for error for the dancers to make error on that. Yeah. And if they do, they're one step away from swinging their corner, and they've got time to correct. You're not doing this in the middle. You're doing a quick into that half sachet, a quick get out. And when you've done this swing through again, girls trade, girls run. I'm half sashayed. Ferris wheel, okay, that's half sashayed. Centers pass through, that's half sashayed. Square through 2 or square through 3, that's half sashayed. But they're still simple, easy, and familiar to the dancers that they're going to have relative success. It's very hard to, you know, to make a mistake on a Ferris wheel, especially if you say Ferris wheel this way or Ferris wheel, don't change it. Simple prompt, and you've got massive success for your dancers with a different but not a difficult feel and flow. Any of our new callers have anything that they want to add in, or any questions? Or our more experienced callers, anything you want to offer? Sorry, who is that? Yes, Hannah.
That's me, yeah. I got a weird one, very short one from Corner Lines.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Go up to the middle.
Yep.
But only the girls go back. Combination refuses it.
Just say boys step forward.
Yeah.
Or boys extend. Swing through, boys.
Okay, that would be, hang on a second.
The center boys trade. What happened to the girls?
No, confused.
Okay, let's try.
Extend and spin.
Very nice, yep.
It was a short one, but you were writing so much, Mel.
Oh no, I'm just doing this so that it can go into the chat.
Yeah, okay.
So when you look at that, extend, we can put a hinge, scoot back twice. The dancers will adjust on that. We can do and that's a boy-girl scoot back. We can do a head square through, do-si-do. Add 4 beats in there. That'll take us up to 54. For this forward and back lines, go forward, up to the middle and back. That looked nice. Do it again, but this time just the girls come back and swing through. I filled in 12 beats of music right there. That's 62 beats. I've got a nice little singing call figure, and all I've done is filled in. And with that fill in, because it's very unusual, it's an offset and it's an ocean wave, boys only, and it's an unusual, but it's very, very hard to make a mistake on that figure. And then what you go ahead.
No. You have there where you have the boys step ahead, and then you put in forward, and only the girls go back. Only the boys stepped ahead; the girls didn't go forward. So that call really isn't shouldn't be shown on the screen, I don't believe.
Oh, that's why I have under it in bracket is.
I know, yeah, but the girls never went forward.
Yeah, it won't show. That's just a Tamination's cue. That's why I put it
okay.
forward and only the girls go back, because Tamination doesn't do also. It's like
okay.
Taminations doesn't do all of that.
My checkers did it.
Yeah, this is one of the things that you have with Square Dance programs. They will do exactly what you tell them to do. If you remember, for instance, we were in this formation now. If there's an adjustment because of this, sorry, the ladies are trying to adapt to that position because that's the way the computer program is written.
Yeah.
So it makes that automatic adjustment. So you have to fudge, and that's why sometimes I'll put scoot and dodge instead of boys scoot back, girls dodge.
Right.
I have to, and I'll put in brackets that boys scoot back, girls dodge afterwards. That's so you can see it. Because I try and post any of these things I can into the chat, because some people like to copy them and paste them and work on these ideas on their own later on.
Okay. Thanks.
Anyone else have something that they would like to share?
Another short one from corner line from me.
Okay.
So
let's set up our corner line just a bit different here. Let's do a heads, promenade 1/2.
Yeah, and you have to do some more calls because this one is short.
We're gonna do a slide through from an ocean wave. Okay, go ahead.
Right and left through with a half sachet. Slide through and U-turn back. And if you have time, you can do pass through, left arm turn, come back. But this is the real corner, although it's not a corner from this setup.
It's a half sachet corner box.
Yeah.
Now, what did we say about endings and fillers. Remember that touch a quarter, scoot back?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Now, we how often do we do touch a quarter and the boys are going to lead? Scoot back, boys go in. Well, touch 1/4, scoot back, girls in.
Not only that, Mel, if you wanted to sacrifice your swing, using a left touch a quarter into a turn a left and roll promenade is still another nice option on the scoot back. Yeah. And it gives you the lefty scoot back as well.
Ska du?
Nej, jag ska bara ta mig.
What the hell?
Shit. Okej. Vad står det?
Jag har ingen aning. Jag har inte sett det. Jag blev fel med det där.
Very nice. This is what the whole thing looks like. Promenade half, pass the ocean, extend. It's just an equivalent of a square through. Now, the fact that the dancers back up on that swing your corner makes it look uncomfortable, but it's not. I've also seen, this is something that was picked up on a cruise. It was done by Jerry Story. A whole bunch of don't do this. I don't know if you've ever seen that. You know, where you do a pass through, just the boys turn back, touch her on the shoulder, girls wiggle your hips, boys walk forward and you know, little filler like that. You get touch a quarter, don't scoot back, don't walk and dodge, do swing. And the dancer, what? And it's just a little gimmick. You can have fun and fill in. It's not something you want to do a lot of, but you can occasionally play with something like that, just as a little bit of oddity. Changing those little endings with, this is what we call the filler at the end, touch a quarter, scoot back, or scoot back boys, scoot back girls. You'll hear that kind of stuff on singing calls all the time. Just to comment on that, when I said earlier, a lot of singing calls have written choreography that come in. They write out the lyrics. When you're doing this kind of stuff, if you're in a standard ocean wave, let's take us here. Sorry. We see this a lot. So we're in a corner box, we do a touch a quarter, in this case a hinge. You'll see the lyrics written on the cue sheet as scoot back boys, scoot back girls. If I wanted the boys to do a scoot back, that means the girls are not going to move. Okay, it's an everybody scoot back. So just be cautious when you do those kinds of things. It's scoot back boys in, or scoot back girls in if it's necessary to give the prompt. Otherwise, it's just a scoot back. If you want the boys to do a scoot back, the boys will do a scoot back. The girls aren't going to do anything. They're not involved.
Another one I just thought of, Mel, that's a little different from your corner box.
Corner box,
yep. Which avoids, maybe you're running out of time and avoiding a swing. You're in a corner box wave there, are you?
Yep. Do you want a box?
No, that'll do. Swing through. I'll try and get them where I wanted them. Boys trade. Boys run. Girls trade. This isn't quite what I wanted, but anyway. If you have the girls do a U-turn back, this is what I was looking for, a right-handed wave with your Yeah. So from here, you could have the boys fold. And this can be used at multiple levels. This one, girls trade and slide apart and let the boys step in and promenade. Just a nice variation. And so at higher levels, you'd call girls trading spread, of course.
And what's nice about that, although we set that up with a heads promenade past the ocean, you could easily set that up with a head square through 4, swing through, head square through 4, swing through to set up that corner box. You got 40 beats. You can drop a do-si-do in there if you want to take it right up because you're not using a swing. That'll take you to your 44 and your promenade home with 16 beats, a couple of extra beats at home. Or you can do at any of these kinds of places.
If you're coming off and extend off a center wave, for instance.
Yep.
You could just have extend the center girls trade, the boys girls slide apart and promenade. Yes, so you can come at it a little earlier.
Yep. And that's where I was going. Like any of these things, there's your singing call figure. And it's just filler. But if we get back to that corner box, and this is what Alan is talking about. So there's our corner box. And what do you want to do from here?
If you just step to a wave.
Yeah.
And the girls trade, you've got the exact setup you need. Yes. And so now you've got the boys fold, girls trade and spread. Yeah. Promenade.
10 beats of music. Oh, sorry. 12 beats of music. So if you set up any of your singing call figures and you've got 12 beats of music at the end, you can use that as your ending.
So if you went to a Ferris wheel, you could have them step to the wave in the middle. That's a way of getting to it nicely, and then extending and have the girls trade. Yeah, so you could use pretty much a standard singing call figure in front of it.
Pretty much. That's head square through 4, right and left through, veer left, Ferris wheel centers pass through, make a wave, ladies trade. Away you go, boys fold. There's your singing call figure. I'll post that so. Heads. Did I miss a swing through in there? No, I didn't. Yeah.
Girls trade.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at make a wave, ladies trade, boys fold, girls trade again.
Oh no, you don't want to do that.
Okay, and again, it's at 40 beats of music. So you've got lots of room to play there.
Yeah.
You introduced the idea of the right and lead left, Mel.
Yep.
So if coming off a singing call figure where you've gone to the right-hand side and done a swing through, boys running, you're going to
Oh, a square dance Zoom call.
Oh, it's on.
Sorry, heads.
Mel is from Australia. He's teaching.
Oh, super.
It's an hour and a half ago.
So where do you want to go with this, Alan?
Did you?
Oh, I was going to say the heads promenade halfway if you're going to do the full finish or figure.
Yes, I know it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the figure you were using earlier on in the presentation, where you promenaded halfway, square through 4, I think it was your standard figure.
Yep.
Swing through with the outside 2. Boys run. Ferris wheel and the centre sweep a quarter.
Sorry, I have to undo that.
Yeah, you have to do it all one go, yeah. And you were using that idea of lead left, so right and left through and lead left.
The dancers would automatically spread out
Now,
and give you room to do that.
You've got a couple of options. You could just do an Alaman left keeper and promenade, or you could do a left touching quarter into a scoot back and a roll promenade.
Yeah, except you're at 48 beats of music here.
So we're a little short.
No, you're right at your take your corner promenade. You got 16 beats left, so
yeah.
So that in itself just uses that lead to the left. But this right here, heads promenade half, square through 4, star through pass through. Head star through pass through does exactly the same thing. Now you've cut that down.
Yeah, if you want to add it at the other end, yeah.
Hang on. Look at the boys fold there. Now that in itself is really quite tight, but you would probably use that as a middle figure and then finish it up with a circle left, because they would still be promenading, and you could do that on your second figure. Finish your singing call, fit it into the lyrics, and then do the circle left. They would be promenading. They would only be to about here when you called circle left. But that would work very well.
You could use the idea where you are there now and have the boys circulate into a promenade.
That would be their corner. I didn't square the set.
You didn't square the set. Okay.
Yeah, that's just your opening figure and your next figure. So they would all have the opposite lady there. So as you can see, simple variations on a theme are really, really easy to do. The knowledge of equivalence, Behind the Mic magazine has been promoting a series on equivalence recently. They looked at all sorts of different things. I think this this month you're going to be looking at flutter wheel, is it? Barry? What's the equivalence we're looking at? I think a very common mistake that's made in a lot of singing call figures was star through and flutter wheel. So I think we're doing equivalents to replace that. Is that correct?
Yeah, star through and flutter wheel. Star through followed by flutter wheel. That's one pair that
it's a terrible combination.
And star through and ladies chain.
Another terrible combination. Okay, so we're looking at equivalents to do that. And if you remember what I said about researching choreography into your repertoire, stealing, always have a look at this kind of stuff when you borrow it, and look for things like that. Star through and zoom, a bad combination. Star through and flutter wheel, a bad combination. Star through and ladies chain, a bad combination. So look for equivalents like that. Behind the Mic magazine has been doing a series on equivalents. Now we're looking at fixing or equivalents for bad choreography or bad choreographic flow. But there's a lot of material out there that deal with equivalents. We've talked about heads square through equals heads promenade halfway past the ocean extend. Okay, same amount of time is taken. If you can find equivalents that take the same amount of time, that simple variety in your singing call figure gives you a lot of flavor. Simple changes at the end, touch a quarter, scoot back, boys in, scoot back, girls in. Wow, I've got touch a quarter, there's 2 beats, scoot back, there's 4, scoot back 4, there's 8, 10, and a swing. Because of the positioning, I've got 12 beats of music. I can take that off the end and put a 12 beat option in there, such as what Alan had just said. Make a wave, ladies trade, boys, or sorry, make a wave, boys fold, ladies trade and slide apart. Anything like that can fill in and fit to give just that little bit of difference, a lot of variety, doesn't fundamentally change the singing calls, and the dancers will remember it because it was smooth and it was comfortable for them to do. And if you do that 4 times, it's going to stick in their head. That choreography then becomes the lyrics of the song for them to remember. And what's going to be really interesting, how many of you have ever called a dance where you're asked to do a song? I'm going to require, I get calls for Ghost Riders in the Sky all the time. Do the song, but I changed the choreography. It's amazing the impact that that has on dancers when they're ready to do it, because half the time they're singing the choreography in their head of what their favorite song is, and you make that little change to it, a big smile will erupt. That's a little bit different. Then you give it back to them. That's where you might use 2 figures in a singing call, or you change it just that little bit. Now you put different lyrics to the song. Your lyrics can be your choreography. You don't want to sing them, you want to call them. But to the dancers, it makes no difference. It's the memory and it's the experience that you want to give them. Any questions, comments, queries, points? Anything anybody else want to look at? Okay, so like I said, I've sent all this material to Mark, who's going to post it up on the website with the video. With that is the presentation, but there's also the presentation pared down into a document, which is essentially a learning document. And there's a collated list of about 1,600 singing calls that go from basic through A1. As I said, with all material that is borrowed research, most of this material is not mine. The first list was given to me by a caller friend of mine back in the very early or very late 80s, early 90s, Mike Turner. And he said, I don't know where he got it from, but it was essentially back then you had the development of, you're going to learn basic. It takes you through night by night with a whole bunch of singing calls that you can mix and match as per the progressive level of the teaching order at the time. Very good resource. If you're doing the SSD program, it's a matter of just going through it and pulling out the ones that work with SSD or finding an equivalent. If you haven't taught right and left through, pass through and wheel around works really, really well. Star through, pass through, California twirl, you know, these kinds of things. All of these kinds of things work really, really well to make the equivalents up for your SSD program. It gives you a lot of material to play with. Then there's some plus and then some A1. I've included, I believe it's Andy Shore's collection, and also a list of a couple of resources, as well as a list of a bunch of A1 singing calls that were designed for an 8-week workshop introduction to A1. And that was designed Saturdays. You had a 3-hour dance. You learn A1 3 hours a week over 8 sessions, just the introduction. So those singing calls are all there, and they're going to be in the material. But as always, double check them before they use them. I haven't gone through all of them, and as we have all noted, when you copy somebody else's material down, it's very easy to forget a line. Yeah. Missing that right and left through, or missing that star through, can make a big difference. So double check it before you use them.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Mel, especially for all the added stuff you're going to be sending us.
Like I said, it's not my work. There's many, many callers. I don't consider myself an excellent caller. I consider myself fairly good. I'm pretty average. I'm not a bad teacher. But there are many excellent callers, choreographers, teachers, and instructors that have come before me that have put all this material out there in the world. It is still out there, but it's like trying to find fly poop in a patch of pepper. You know, it's very, very difficult, and it's a lot of research. So the only thing I ever ask is, if you're ever in a position to help a new caller learn and develop the skills, spend the time to do it right and give them the assistance they need to develop their skills. That's how we're going to keep this activity alive. The days of holding everything close to the chest, oh, that's my special call, I'm never going to share that with anybody else. Those are gone. You know, those should have never happened in the first place, but I understand why they did. We've got an opportunity here coming out of COVID to rebuild this activity, whether it's with SSD or whether it's with bringing the fun back into square dancing and just getting people laughing and having fun and taking our time with it. Whatever works is going to work. But we've got an opportunity. Let's take the maximum advantage of it. Anybody have anything to add? If not, we will call it
I sent you one a while ago, but
oh, sorry, I missed that. And then I'll get to you, Hannah. Sorry, Mark. You sent me something.
Something I was playing with. I don't even know if it's got good flow, but it was something that I had heard the other night of a way of starting, and I tried to play with it and see if I could come up with a 64
That's sides, face, partner. You're just having the sides box in that?
No, all of it, everybody.
Okay.
Yum scruff, eh?
Yeah, I do see one fundamental problem right there.
Okay.
Okay. So you've got sides, face your partner, box the net, lines pass through, wheel and deal, centers pass through. No problem with that. Okay. You can prompt the dancers to a spin the top. That's not a problem. Make a wave, spin the top, half right, centers go 3. That's the boys, and the girls are moving up. Boys run, bend the line.
That's what I was thinking.
Now
put
that
them into the ground.
That I don't have a problem with up to that point. But from that point, you've got, now I've got a right hand turning for the boys. And I'm also starting now with a left hand turn for the girls. So let's just, whoops, sorry. Okay, so boy, right turn, slide through, right turn, slide through, right turn, scoot back, and a right turn.
Mm.
And if we look at the girls, okay, so here's the girl. She's doing a left turn, a little bit better for her, but still not good. Right turn, tight right turn, looping right turn, and then the swing, right turn, right turn, right turn, right turn, and a right roll into a promenade. So that's 90, 180, 360, 720. That's 810 degrees of turning in a row for the ladies. So that might be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I was just trying to use the fill, the do nothings for Phil to get that 64 beats.
Yep. What I do? Well, let's everybody else can participate here. Let's see what we can do to change this. Okay, so we've got. I like your sides face your partner. Everybody box the nat. Lines pass through. Wheel and deal. Centers pass through. That is a beautiful opening. Box the net, pass through, wheel and deal. Okay, that's a beautiful opening, and that's got a corner grouping on the opposite side, or basically rotated right one quadrant, or left one quadrant. So that's a really nice opening. I have no problem with that. So where did you want to go after that? Was the touch to a wave and spin the top. Not a problem with that. Boys run.
A hinge boys run might have been better.
Yep, spin the top. Okay. Hinge. Boys run. Oh, look at that. Corner box out of sequence, right? Yeah. Essentially, we've done a corner box to a right and left through. What's the rest of your sequence, Mark? We had the touch a quarter, something or other there. Yeah, slide through twice. Now, we've done this for the boys, that spin the top, boys move up, hinge, and boys run. So there's 3/4 of turn, right hand turning for the boys. We need a left hand action here. And this is where you said you were just putting your filler in. You've got 27 beats of music used. We need a left hand action, so let's do a right and left through. Now I'm into a corner box. And you can do Allen's get out, you can do all sorts of different things, but remember I'm halfway across the set.
$18.4.
And that gives the right hand and the left hand type of, the left hand type of flow to make that change with the straight forward. Yeah. We've done the boys run. You can do the.
You could touch in. You could touch into waves and work vertically to get them back to the other side, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll go back to before you right and left through even.
Yep.
And now do a touch a quarter.
That's a right. That's too many rights for the boys.
Oh, I'll do a left quarter if you want to.
Yep.
centers trade. And a left swing through. So it just changes now. It's shifted them all down.
Oh, and look where they are. 38. Here's my corner grouping.
Are we what at? 48 of it? 38.
38. I don't want to do that.
Well, you could have boys run, I guess,
Yeah.
from there, couldn't you?
You could, or you could have the girls run. You could have the boys fold, girls turn through. Which
Boys
is
run into a flutter wheel.
Yeah.
Would that get us there?
Yeah. There's lots of ways to get out of it to resolve, but what we're trying to do is get it to the, on this one, sorry, I would just do this. There's your filler.
Okay.
And as the girl's coming in, take the cue off of what Alan did before. Boys, left turner off the scoot back and roll promenade.
You got a slightly shorter promenade, but yeah, it's okay.
Yep. Or you could do that. And that's why you do not use square dance programs to write your choreography with. Because if you expect your dancers to do that, you're going to be in for a big surprise on that. So this hinge right there, sorry. And then you would just have the boys
turn back.
Or roll twice and promenade. And that's 48 beats, 49 beats, 16 beats to a singing call figure. You've still got your filler at the end, but by changing that left touch a quarter and working down the line instead of just working left hand, you've got a full promenade, and you've done essentially the equivalent of your 8 chain 4 to bring it down there. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah, it does.
And I'll paste that in the chat.
Can you hear me, Mel?
Yes, I can hear you, Bob.
Okay. I just now got the sound fixed. It wasn't working. My microphone is broke. Anyway, for your square through 3. Okay. Head square through 2. Swing through. Boys run. Ferris wheel. Oh, yeah. Yes. Girls zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Center square through 3.
Hello.
Left touch a quarter. Walk and dodge. Promenade home. So that's only 55 beats.
30, yeah, it takes you to 30, 40 beats to there. But this is that same thing with the walk and dodge. Again, we can do all sorts of filler here. We've got the girls. We've got the girls.
The point is doing the walk and dodge into the promenade. How many beats more did we need?
You're at 40, so you need another 8 beats of filler to that promenade.
Okay, at the beginning, on the square through 2, you just add the do-sa-do.
Yep.
That's your 8 beats, and then it'll time out perfect. I know when I'm on the floor. I did it the other night.
Yep.
I just didn't remember the whole thing. But dancers are not expecting a promenade after a walk and dodge. But it is so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if in the patter you've worked the left touch a quarter, walk and dodge, and do a wheel around. And they're expecting a wheel around, and they hear promenade, which has virtually the same flow.
Yep. The wheel around in the promenade, girls, you do a walk and
No.
dodge. Hang on. If you did a walk and dodge and a wheel around, you hear that quite a bit. Wheel into a promenade, or wheel left into a promenade, wheel around into a promenade. Here you're just doing the walk and dodge. The girl's walking for it. Take his hand, girls, promenade. The dancers will adjust to that. A lot of people will say, because we're in lines facing out, that's an awkward position for a promenade. If you give them time and you give them the prompts and the coaching, that's not all that awkward. That's no different than calling a walk and dodge swing your corner promenade. It has the same awkwardness, but with that kind of timing, right at the end, it's going to flow quite nice. And as Bob said, this is 30, 39, or 40 beats actually. Let's just copy that. Come on. Reset, paste, and we'll do a...
The only drawback, Bob, is that there's a slightly longer time for the sides that are facing out. They've got to virtually turn 180 degrees and then promenade, so they're taking a little bit longer.
And that's fine, because we're giving that extra, because this is going to take 42 beats of music to go to here.
Yeah.
So you're doing your prop. You're doing your...
Yeah,
Sorry,
the
go
number
ahead.
one is going straight into the promenade. The number four man has to turn his lady round to promenade, yep.
That's correct. But you've got that extra 2 beats of music. Plus, you're going to be, if they're doing it right, they're going to be wheeling in, because the head men are going to just start going. They're going to tighten up. The side men are going to wheel in, and that's going to tighten that promenade quite quickly. It'll hit you on your 64. There's not a lot of room for error on it. But I put the do-si-do in there. And if you're there, if you're having trouble with the timing, you can easily drop that do-si-do out of it. And that's what the beauty of these types of material is, something just a little bit different. And that is a little bit different. As Bob was saying, how often do we do, walk and dodge, wheel around? Well, it's the same flow, but you just, instead of doing a wheel around, you're just going right into the promenade. Different, but not difficult.
Around.
I've seen a similar sort of thing, Mel, where they work in the grand wave, if you like, and have the ladies turn back. And they promenade out of a grand wave, out of a grand two-faced line. That can work nicely in a singing call too.
Yeah. I've seen, I would usually go with something like a girls turn back, couples start to hinge and promenade.
Yeah.
Does the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the flow you want.
Yeah, that's exact. Yeah.
No, very nice. Copy.
Different is Shauna's new song they put out, 455 Rocket. She does a regular figure for heads, and then they do then for the second heads figure they do side space grand square.
Yeah.
And then head square through 4, swing your corner promenade.
Yep.
I've never seen that one done. I thought it was different.
You haven't got the record Feliz Navidad, obviously.
No.
There's 7 grand squares in that figure.
7?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The way that one was released, and it does exactly that. There's also
That would be too much.
yeah. There's also the figure heads pass through, separate around one, come down the middle, pass through, separate around one, come down the middle, pass through. And there's your corner, Alaman left. So if you do heads pass through, separate around one, come down the middle, pass through.
Split two, separate around one.
Split two, separate around one. You know, you've done that, but you can also do that with heads square through four, split two, separate around one, pass through, or come down the middle, pass through, separate around one, come down the middle, pass through. There's your corner. Just add the grand square on the outside of that, so you've got the heads doing the figure and the sides doing a grand square. And you can mix and match those things all the time. So your figure would be heads square through, sides face, grand square all the way, heads separate around one, come down the middle, pass through, separate around one, come down the middle, pass through, swing your corner.
Isn't that an old singing call?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a number of singing calls that use that.
Yeah.
But when they're facing out, the separate around one is a clover leaf.
Yes, it could be a clover leaf.
Ernie Kinney used it on several singing calls.
Yep. Somebody's got a kitty cat.
I came up with a.
Sorry.
I came up with a. You there, Mel? I came up with a novel idea the other day. I was playing, and I thought, trying to get the sides involved quicker, and I thought, what if I have the heads pass through?
Yeah.
But then call everybody wheel around. And the sides separate round one. As another way of starting a singing call figure.
Did you want them in a line?
But that was just the idea. So you can work from there now if you wanted to, yeah.
Yeah. Or you can do wheel around.
But it was just getting the sides involved earlier.
Boom. There's our corner grouping again.
So you should have everyone in front of the wheel around, Mel, because otherwise the sides are going to still be standing there.
Yep. I did have everybody do the wheel around.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And now all I did was do a center square through three. Instead of putting them into a line of four, I just had separate and stand behind the heads and had the heads do something. Again, everybody's concurrent. Or as you know, you can set that up. There's your corner grouping in 8 chain 4. Beauty. Right and left through 8 chain 4, or in 8 chain 6, I should say. We'll do that and fix that out of sequence thing. You had everybody wheel around sides. Why is that not working? Sides separate.
Now.
There we go. And now we've got this. And you notice this right here?
It's actually a right hand. It's actually a right hand box. Actually a right hand grouping. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a right hand grouping, but this is a corner grouping.
Yep.
So if remember that if you got a right hand box grouping here, boy boy girl girl, you've got a corner grouping here. I think that was Bob Elling's class.
So if you pass through
40 some odd sessions ago.
If you pass through wheel and deal, Mel, and have the centers wheel around, you've got a corner group with the ladies in the middle. And now, now you could star through and couple circulate or something like that, if whatever you want to do, yeah.
Yep.
Or you could actually just square through 3, I think, could you, to a corner? Was that, I'll back it up?
No, because you square through 3, you have boys together, girls together.
Ah, yeah. But you could star through and have the boys circulate, pick up the girl.
Yeah.
I would just have the girls zoom at this point, but boys circulate.
Yep, pick up a girl. Ferris wheel, I guess. Centers wheel around and everybody square through. Square through 3. Yeah, and swing. I don't know how that times, but yeah.
Your wheel arounds and your tightness of that, you'd be at about 60 beats of music. So you got 4 beats of music and 4 beats of music on something like that, because there's a little bit of the wheel around, the wheel around, and the wheel around. Obviously, we have a focus on wheel around. Great, not a big problem.
Jeff would like to say something.
Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I just got a slightly different singing call figure for you.
Go ahead.
Yep. All right. Sides lead to the right. Touch 1 quarter.
Den vi ska ha. Den.
Centers trade.
Dörrarna.
Ja, jag vet inte. Eller alla länkar ligger.
Spin the top.
Trycka på.
Där.
Ja.
Där.
Köp det. Ja, ja.
Det händer ingenting.
Hinge. Walk and dodge. Face in. And from there, square through 4.
Ah.
Swing your corner. Probably a little bit short, but it's good.
Yeah. That would be a full promenade.
Yeah.
And as I noted in when you read the notes, you'll notice when you do some of these things, if you have the dancers swing here, so we just go to here.
They're virtually home. But,
Okay, if you have the dancers swing here, because this boy is going into the left-hand quadrant and he'll be leading, means they're starting their promenade from this position.
Yeah.
If you have anything above mainstream on your floor today, even if you say full promenade, they're probably going to stop here.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
So you're going to have to full promenade or do something to keep them going. And where's a good place to do that? Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way here.
Yeah, Mel.
You're here. So you're going to need something that is going to make them go. You've done a face in, forward and back, bend the line. Anything along that? No, that even that wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, I know they're only a quarter from home.
I'm just looking at it here. Undo.
Don't hold it again.
No, it's still going to do the same thing. Fills it up. Yours is better. You just have to really, really stress full promenade.
Yeah.
What about after that square through 4? Face in, single circle, rear back, swing and promenade.
Yeah. Face in, single circle, where, yeah. No, because you do your single circle, you're going to have to do a single circle all the way.
Yeah.
Face in.
Well, they do that out here.
There we go. I was just trying to get it right. I didn't realize I typed that in there twice. Just doing that so I could post the comments into the chat. So when you get the notes, you can add these on. I think we're up to, what, 1,650 singing call figures now? if some of these haven't been included already. And most of these are pretty simple. It's a wealth of material that is easy to use, usable, and easy to structure for you. Easy to structure your evenings around your singing calls. While when you're teaching and you're doing your lessons, you want your focus to be on the material you're presenting, and you want your singing calls to complement and reaffirm the success of that teaching material that you're doing in your pattern. But, as I said in the session, periodically it's good to take your singing calls, structure your evening around your singing call choreography, it's nice and simple, and then develop your pattern to complement the singing call instead of the other way around. What you will do with that is you will give the dancers a really, really enhanced, wonderful experience. And you'll find that most callers that are festival callers or traveling callers, this is what they do. If you look at their pattern material, unless they're hired to do a specific DBD workshop or they're doing workshops specifically, this is how they will structure it. If you look at callers like Tony Oxendine or Jerry Story was like this, Johnny Preston, various other callers, Dave Prescott is like this as well. They'll have their singing call material whenever they do a big festival dance, and their pattern material is going to be a little bit different, but very complementary. It's not going to be a weird and wonderful workshop and then they do an easy singing call. It's going to be complementary to what they're going to present. So they do it backwards to give the best show to the dancers and the best experience to the dancers, with, of course, the inevitable outcome of the dancers had a great time, they're going to ask me back. And that's what every caller wants. More gigs. So, anybody have anything else that they would like to add? No? Well then, thank you very much for coming in. Next week, just to remind you, we've got Jeff Priest coming in. We're going to be talking about caller judgment, and that's getting on the floor and talking about what it is that we have to do to make that dancer experience great. We've all had those evenings where we've had a floor that just isn't going to do what it is we want them to do, and judgment goes a lot more than just saying, oh well, they're having trouble with the mainstream program, so I'm going to call plain vanilla all right. It's judgment to give them the maximum success, and Jeff Priest is a master of this, so we're going to get him in next week. The following week, and probably for the following week and the week after, there will be no sessions. I should be in the middle of moving houses, moving towns, and maybe even moving states. I'm not quite sure yet. our house deal. The house we were renting, they decided to take it off the rental market and sell the house. So we're scrambling to find a house because we have to be out of this one by the second week of November. So after next week, we may not have any sessions until the middle of November, but I will hopefully be in touch with everybody. If not, hopefully Mark will be able to post it up on the site, because I may not even have internet connection until then. But thank you very much for coming in. I hope to see you all next week. Once again, a big thank you to Mark Hart, who takes the time, the energy, and the effort of not only posting these sessions, but all the sessions onto the OC Callers webpage, all the notes and collations. We've now been doing this for just over 2.5 years, but we've got the 68 sessions, 68 complete sessions posted on the site, as well as the links to the sessions done by Don Beck and Dan Like, as well as the links to the GSI Caller School class session. So there's a lot of material, a lot of good reference material, and a lot of stuff there for you to use in your own development, or if you're mentoring, feel free to use any of the material that I've given to assist you with the mentoring process. Thank you much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mel.
Very good, Mel. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, everybody.